That was a good, and remains a good overall deal. The problem was implementation. And yes, the problem was unfunded mandates, and I did in fact introduce legislation during those years to do away with the unfunded mandate side. In other words, if you're going to require these things, pay for them, or else don't require them. And I believe that. So I agree with Charles on that. But I also believe that the federal government should have some role in ensuring national standards and that No Child Left Behind sets a good overall skeleton for doing that. Problematic because of implementation, not just funding, but the strictness and uniformity of the standards. And I'll give you one perfect example. Here in Hawaii, we have a great deal of multi-ethnic education going on. We have the highest level of students for whom English is a second language. Now, Washington, D.C. doesn't appreciate that. Not enough flexibility for the local schools. We needed that flexibility. I believe that that's the direction that this proposal is going in. So let's not jettison No Child Left Behind. Let's expect more of ourselves all across this country, assist where we can, and reform school governance at home. More than half the problem in Hawaii is the way we run things right at home. It doesn't have anything to do with Congress.
Thank you. Gentleman, Lee.
I believe that the federal government should have a role in setting standards for education at all levels. However, the federal government should allocate more money, not just to like higher education scholarships, but also to the primary and secondary. In fact, I was also believe that there should be money to help pre-kindergarten, preschool. In many other countries in the world that I've traveled throughout extensively, a lot of them support pre-kindergarten to give them a start, starting to socialize and learning, and so their education has a better future. I believe that No Child Left Behind has too much emphasis on just setting standards without the money to go along with it to actually increase and to better our education. The in-class instruction, we need to work towards having smaller class sizes. And I believe that in Hawaii, it does have special needs because we have such a high immigrant population. So the one size fits all doesn't work here. And the race to the top, we need to try to garnish that money so that we can, even though we're a state that one of the only state that has a state running the whole system. So we are different in that respect, and we need to go after that race to the top monies to improve our school systems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. I'm not sure that the correct depiction of what the President is proposing is a dismantling of No Child Left Behind, as it may be just the refocusing of No Child Left Behind. Remember, No Child Left Behind is a testing mechanism by which a school either passes or fails. My understanding of the proposal is really to bring it down on the level that it should be on, which is on the student and teacher level. So the testing is supposed to go to the performance of the student and each individual student. And when you think about it, that is the measure of success for the future. It's how each child does. And when you think about, well, we were talking earlier about healthcare reform. It's the same thing. It's like it should be between the patient and the doctor. They should be making the decision. The teacher and the student should be also making the decision. The question about whether or not there's going to be adequate funding, I heard a figure of $50 billion maybe being put in to make this work. And that's also something that as this discussion progresses, we will then get a better idea. But right now, I think the details of the plans are not out yet. But I can say from my experience, when I chaired the Felix Investigative Committee, which then also looked at another unfunded mandate called the IDEA in Section 504, the special needs students, that one of the things that we always had to look at was whether or not they were unfunded mandates. And No Child Left Behind has been an unfunded mandate. Let's also be very clear that in order for the success of the students. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how to best come up with programs that would go to the success of each individual child. This new proposal, as I understand it, that goes to the level of the student and the teacher, is where the decision-making should be, and that's where our money should be as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles Amsterdam.
Well, I received my master's in education at UCLA in the philosophy of education. I spent some of my most beautiful time sleeping in the library there. One of the things that I find that we should focus on is what is the aim of education? I heard our superintendent of schools here say that the aim is to prepare students so that they can have good jobs. Well, that is a good aim, but it's kind of a low aim. What about personal and collective development? Full development, actualization. I think President Obama is integrating a sense of idealism into education. Where is that sense of idealism during the time of President Kennedy? We really enjoyed education for the sake of education. We see that there were problems with the educational program with President Bush, lack of funding, lack of follow-through. So it's important that we follow through, that we have sufficient funding. But we also should look at the aim of education, so that we are, I feel, we should educate the total person, collectively, individually. We should have a good time when we're educated. I've had great teachers and I've had great educational experiences, great models. And I think with the sense of idealism, this refocus that was mentioned by Colleen, that it's possible to do that. And if we put our effort into that with a sense of idealism and follow through with what President Obama is trying to do, I think we can recapture that sense of education, the educational spirit that we enjoyed during President Kennedy's administration.
Thank you. Optional rebuttal from Charles Djou.
Thank you, Wayne. You know, Wayne, I recognize, for me, in my life, my most important job isn't being city councilman, isn't being an army reservist, isn't being a professor. The most important role and job in my life is being a good husband and a good father. And as a dad with 3 school-aged children, I understand that we have a problem here in the community. I personally understand that our kids need to be in school. While I recognize and appreciate that Secretary of Education Artie Duncan is one of the brightest lights in the Obama administration, we have to realize and understand our problems are not going to be fixed by a bureaucrat in Washington, D.C., nor do I want them to be. Education is something that should be controlled at the local level, not at the national level. One size does not fit all. When Washington gets involved, more often than not, they have good ideas, but they eventually muck them up. Leadership in education must remain at the local level. We have too much centralization in Hawaii. I don't want to see more centralization and bureaucracy in Washington, D.C.
Rebuttal, Rafael Del Castillo.
Thank you. Yeah, I mentioned that I was a teacher, and I still consider myself a teacher. I have a lifetime elementary credential. And I have to say that I've never met a teacher, and I've met a few thousand, I've never met a teacher who didn't have standards for their students, who didn't have expectations for their students. The congresspersons who passed No Child Left Behind need to spend a day or so in their shoes before they set standards for them to live by. The teachers and the students and the parents have standards. What we need to do is incentivize what they do well, when they achieve goals like President Obama's programs are beginning to address, and not repress standards. I agree with everyone who mentioned, including Colleen and Charles, that it has to be a locally controlled but nationally set agenda.
Thank you. Rebuttal of clarification, please.
You know, a lot of these questions come down to an overall philosophy and an overall principle. What I'm hearing really is, for some of my fellow candidates, government, including the federal government, is pretty much all of the answer, which I don't agree with. For some candidates, government is never the answer. I don't agree with that. The key is always with government. What is the appropriate role and where can government fill in?